Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the French Tier 10 heavy tank, the AMX M454. Now this is a tank that, to be honest, with all the buffs that have been going out recently, this is a tank that could probably do with it. Because it's a fairly disappointing Tier 10 heavy, to be honest. Because the Tier 9 is better than this tank. The only thing that the Tier 9 does worse than this tank is the DPM. That's pretty much it. This is basically a French version of the Super Conqueror, and it's worse in every way. That's just the best way of describing this tank. The lower plate's not that good. The upper plate, if people are firing like 300 odd pen and shooting slightly down at you, easy penetrations for them. The cupola on top is a bit troll because it's rounded, but for the most part, people hit it a lot. The cheeks on the frontal hull armour are Swiss cheese. These cheeks that you can see in front of us, Swiss cheese. People fire 260, 270 pen, and they see those on a flat angle. And by the way, 260, 270 pen, the general penetration for most Tier 10 tanks, for most, they'll pen it. And if they're firing premium, even easier. So the armour on this tank becomes it's just Swiss cheese sometimes. And it can be a pain. Obviously, you can bounce stuff. If you've got stuff that are just literally frontally facing on, they just see your upper plate, you can bounce them. And your turret armour, in terms of the gun mantle, is pretty damn solid as well. The gun handling's okay. It's 0.35 instead of 0.33, say, that the Super Conqueror gets, or I think Super Conqueror gets maybe better than that. But anyway, it's okay, especially with 6.0 accuracy, crew skills, that sort of thing. You can make this gun definitely better. And the aim time's not too bad either. But it just needs a little bit of love, just to make it a bit more competitive alongside tanks like the Super Conqueror and that, especially with a tank like the E5 getting a buff, which makes that tank far better as well. This tank it needs something extra. So in terms of the crew anyway, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Trap Mechanic, Run and Gun, Snapshot, and Armour Angling. Now Armour Angling, because receiving 5% less damage when people hit you is great. That impacts their rolls as well. So if they've got like 320, well, okay, take 400 alpha, easiest to do the maths. If they got 400 alpha, technically they've got like 380 alpha instead. Which means that they're going to roll for 380 on average. Well, that means that with RNG, they're going to roll lower than that against you. Or roll higher than that. But it just means that there's a lot of situations where you might be on less health, that can actually help you out a lot. And then the gun perks, because you need to make the gun better. Making the gun as godly as possible is always a good thing on heavy tanks, and it's just one of those things. I mean, you could put stuff like maybe clutch braking on to make the mobility a little bit better over terrain and stuff like that. Make the track traverse better. You could do that quite easily. You could also put the firefighting skills on this tank as well, because it does like to set on fire when it gets shot in the side. Now, in this game on El Halouf, we've managed to accrue 3.5k damage, but we've lost a lot of health so far. We're on 3.5k damage, we're on 500 health, and I decided, you know what, this 430's got to go. We get a shot into, well, we tried to get a shot into him, we ended up ramming him for 200, and our shot only did track damage, typically. And again, we only do track damage shooting the 430. I mean, the 430's hull is a bit awkward, but, you know, it's pain in the back bouncing shots like that. We end up face-hugging him there so that he couldn't pen us. If he was firing heat, he probably actually could have gone through our upper plate when we were face-hugging him. But he wasn't. He was firing APCR. He managed to bounce off our upper plate. We get through that mess relatively unscathed in the end, because he could have killed us quite easily at that point. It's really annoying that we end up only doing track damage to him when we had him, because we could have got out of that situation a lot quicker. But it is what it is. Now we are against these Mousers, and we've got APCR in because they're mouse tanks. They've got lots of armour, and with the AP, we're probably going to bounce. Sad fact of it, we're probably going to bounce with the AP rounds, firing at their turret cheeks, firing at the lower plate because of the angles of how close we are. We could probably pen it, but if they angle up like that, for example, we're not going to pen them with the AP. So we need the APCR. And that is a sad fact of the Mouse's existence, and same as the Type 5, to be honest, even with its armour buffs, is the fact that as soon as people press A, your armour just becomes sad. And I can just pen and track you like that very easily. And we're up to 5k damage. And out of that, we've got like nearly 2k assistance just by tracking him. Now we come around the corner on this mouse, pop a shot straight through his turret cheeks, because that's what our 300 odd APCR pen gets us. And because of the way he's sat, he's just an easy target for us to farm the damage on his turret cheeks. Honestly, it's one of those things. You see these you see a mouse, you see a Type 5, you see them, you just load APCR. Let's say not APCR, but you just load premium. And that is just a sad fact of... That was a really bad shot. Anyway, sad fact of heavily armoured tanks with easy to shoot weak spots. Mouse and E100, both very easy to do this to, and they're easy hit point pinatas. So obviously I was going for the third mark at this point. I think this was before they changed the damage RNG and changed the MOE progress. So I was just pushing at this point to try and get some progress on our MOE for the AMX M454, and this game has been a joy for us to do that. And obviously seeing that mouse, loading the APCR, I knew that I was going to get a ton of damage off of him. I tried to get a tracking shot on the IS-7 there because, well, I hoped to obviously get 7k damage, which I've got now. But if I tracked that IS-7, he was going to get farmed by my friends. Gets farmed by my friends, more assistance. We get a shot into the lower plate, the IS-4 for 324. He's clearly running the armour angling skill and probably advanced armour as well, which just means that every time I hit him, I'm going to do very little. We get a nice shot into his tracks as we're moving along. I was hoping that someone might pen him after I tracked him, but unfortunately no one does. I was going for the tracking shot there. Unfortunately, we pen his lower plate. He's charging now. The E50 comes in and sort of does a get down, Mr. President. Unfortunately, we don't pen the IS-4, and we didn't track him, which means we didn't get the assistance, and he managed to finish us off. When we're out in the open like that, the AMX M454 is just a tank that's very easy to get shut down by any tier 10 tank. They're just going to wreck you easily. But anyway, that game got shut down. And we finished with 7.7, well, nearly 7.8k damage, 1900 assistance. That's nearly 10k combined. I'm just going to round it up and say it was. Ace tanker, high caliber, 1798 base XP, 3 kills. Really nice game for a tank that is fairly mediocre, to be honest. And now we're on to the next game of the replays, and we're on steps. And on steps, team destruction as well. So we're going to go to the heavy tank flank, and we're going to go this way because this is where we're most likely to get into a good brawl where we can sort of stay hull down. Because that's the one thing, the turret armour on this tank is good, the gunman looks good, the cupola is a bit of a weak spot if you manage to sit still for long enough for them to hit it. Obviously if you keep moving and ducking and dodging, it's quite a hard target to hit. But if you hull down and you're using the full gun depression, that cupola is pretty much unseeable by those enemy tanks. So that's what you want to do, really, with the tank, is get hull down and laugh. And I'm hoping that I can have a good hull down fight with tanks from being over here. But we only find... I say that, we managed to progress quite far before we find tanks. And we found a tank that we didn't want to find, and that is a Kranvarn. Because, obviously, we're good hull down. But he's even better hull down, and that's not what you want to face. But fortunately enough, we've got teammates, so we're coming up against this Kranvarn here, and we're just going to start tracking him in place and penning him, because obviously if we track him in place, it stops him moving, means that we can get more chance to get reloads in, to get shots into him, and also we're getting track assistance. Unfortunately, we didn't get too much track assistance on him because he got shot by people after he repaired his tracks. But now the next target is this ISM, because I could pull around the left-hand side of this rock and attack those heavies, but if I attack them, the ISM, most likely I'm going to get most of the damage on this guy, and I can stay safe from the heavy tank that's sitting at J5 and just attack these guys a little bit safer, generally. So we're attacking this ISM, who is stock, so unfortunately we give him our side a little bit, which is a bit of a mistake, costs ourselves some health, but we're slapping shots into this ISM's stock turret, because that poor thing when it's stock is absolutely horrendous. Now we've got his bigger brother, the 705A, in front of us. We get a shot into his lower plate, and this ISM is providing the perfect cover to our tank, providing more spaced armour, and fortunately enough, this guy sat perfectly out in the open, and we're managing to get shots into his lower plate. This STRV 103B is getting bullied by the M103, that poor STRV, and he gets shut down. But that means the 705A is kind of distracted with other people. We end up getting tracked there, and it wasn't by the 705A, it was by something further back. I don't think it was the Waffle that tracked us, I think there's something else. We try and get a shot into the Waffle's turret on the move. Unfortunately, we miss, and I'm just trying to push up to get a shot into it. We snap the shot into the top of his turret, which is great. That's where run and gun helps us, and that's what was tracking us earlier on and bouncing off us. It's a Type 59-2. We get a nice shot into his side, pixel shot, and finish him off. We're up to 3.5k damage, and there's still a lot left. At the minute, the teams are fairly balanced, but we're on the push on this side. We get a shot into the lower plate of the 705A. Unfortunately, don't finish him off, which we could have done with our roll, but like I said, I think this was before the RNG changes. I'll say that, actually, I don't think we could. But we do get to finish him off. But now I know where the rest of the enemy team is. There's a Waffle behind us, but the rest of the enemy team is now in front of us where we're moving. I said that. He was in front of us, and the whole enemy team is behind us. So I'm going back now to where our spawn is, because that's where they are, and that's where the damage is. And I want the damage. I'm hungry for it. So we're coming against this CS63. Go for the tracking shot. We track him in place, pet him. It's one of those things. Always, if someone's out in the open and they angle liar, always go for the tracking shot, because you'll hold him in place, you'll get damage, and it's more likely that you'll end up being able to reload and get your next shot in before they get back behind cover. We get a nice shot into the Dragon as he poked out. We're just staying a little bit safer. We get another shot into the T100 LT who's running around, and I'm hoping to get another shot into him before he ducks down behind cover. Get another one into him. I was kind of hoping I'd possibly track him, because obviously it's been a bit of a pest at the minute, and it'd be nice to get rid of him, but unfortunately it didn't. Now we're just going to go through onto the CS63, keeping our minds focused on the guys in front of us so that they don't pen us. Poke round the corner, finish off the CS63 auto-aimed, and we're up to 6k damage, and that's got rid of him. Now there's the Dragons in front of us, there's still the light tank on the right, and there's another medium tank that's knocking about somewhere unspotted. Now I want to attack these guys, but I'm not going to attack them by just going blindly across the open middle of the map, because if I get spotted and say there's something that I've not looked at what it is, it's an autoloader and it's sat at C6 or something like that, it's going to hurt me, and it's probably going to take most of my health, and then that takes away my brawling health, or my health to, it's my trading health really, and it's actually a CS63, and I don't want to do that. So that's why we stayed a little bit more safe by ducking below the ridge lines while the Dragons were unspotted, and then obviously the CS63 gets spotted, we know where he is. So as we come over the ridgeline, we're going to see if we can get a shot into the Dragon, but unfortunately he just gets behind cover, but then he drives back out again, and he's driving back into a position we can shoot him. We pop a shot into his side and finish him off. And we're just going to push forward now to try and attack this CS63. Now obviously he's got way better DPM than us, and the Leopard PTA, but if we tag team him, we'll quite easily get rid of him. We don't obviously want to leave ourselves, either me or him, isolated against this guy, because he could just wreck us with the DPM. So as we come over, we're auto-aiming the shot, we slap his shot in. The Leopard PTA didn't finish. I expected the Leopard PTA to finish him off then, but he didn't. We managed to ram him to death, which is great. It's always a glorious thing to do. And now we're pushing for the CS52 lease and the light tank that's left that we shot earlier on. Now I'm hoping to get some more damage into this, but from where the heavy tanks are, I'm looking at the CS52 lease like we're probably not going to get another shot into him. But is he set on top of the ridgeline? Oh no, he just ducks below the ridgeline just before we get there, so we can't get another shot into him, which is unfortunate. And now is the time to push across the open ground and hope for a better shot. But actually, we're going to get a little bit higher and see if this CS52 pushes out, which he doesn't. So it's just push along, see if we can get to these guys a little bit quicker. Now the CS52 lease gets shut down by the T77. Sad we don't manage to get the kill on him. And now the T100 LT is actually in the far north. I was expecting him to possibly just be hiding in this corner at A7, but he's running around where their spawn is, so I hope to get there. I just want to get the finishing shot on this Trailblazer. I don't know what kills I'm on at the minute. I haven't looked, but I feel like I've done a lot of damage. If I get the kill on this Trailblazer, I'll push to 7k, and that's really nice. 640 assistance is great as well. He's pushing through the middle, which is pushing through towards where I am. We snap the shot on the move, finish off the Trailblazer. Absolutely perfect, exactly what we wanted. And we get the 7k. And we finish that game with 7 kills, 7k damage, 1700 base XP. 7.6k combined. Devastator, Ace Tanker, Sniper, Top Gun, High Caliber, and like I said, the 1700 base XP. Really nice game for a tank, again, that is fairly mediocre. And honestly, it's just a tank that needs that little bit extra love. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!